In the summer of 1999, a family of 3 left home for a simple weekend trip into the Smoky Mountains. They never made it to their campsite. No calls, no sightings, no trace of their silver SUV. For 21 years, the case went nowhere. Only theories, dead ends, and a family that seemed to vanish into thin air. Then, volunteer divers working miles from any major roadway stumbled onto something deep beneath the water. Something that shouldn't have been there. Before we dive into today's vanished story, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe to Seek Stories for more mysterious disappearance cases. The morning of August 14th, 1999 started the way most summer Saturdays do, with the smell of coffee and the sound of someone packing too much into too little space. David Mitchell stood in the driveway of their modest ranch house in Asheville, North Carolina, trying to fit a cooler into an already packed Toyota 4Runner. He was 42, a quality control inspector for a regional construction company. The kind of man who wore steel-toed boots to work and kept his promises. His wife Karen called him stubborn. His kids called him dependable. Karen Mitchell, 40 years old, was a nurse at Mission Hospital. She'd worked the night shift Thursday, took Friday off, and was looking forward to 3 days without pagers or patient charts. She was inside the house, triple-checking the first aid kit, because that's what nurses do even on vacation. Their daughter Sarah was 14, all braces and energy and a brand new Sony Handycam that she'd gotten for her birthday the month before. She'd been filming everything for weeks. The neighbor's dog, her mom making breakfast, her older brother Drew pretending to be annoyed. Drew was 19, home for the summer between his freshman and sophomore year at NC State. He had a part-time job at the campus bookstore and orientation week was coming up. He wasn't going on the trip. "You sure you don't want to come?" David asked, slamming the hatchback closed for the 3rd time. Drew shook his head, adjusting his backpack. "I've got to be back by Monday, Dad. It's not worth it." "Your loss," Sarah said, pointing the Handycam at him. "I'm making a documentary. You're gonna be in the credits as lazy brother who stayed home." Drew laughed. "Make sure you get Dad's terrible singing." "Oh, I will." The camera captured that moment. Drew waving, Sarah zooming in on his face, him making a goofy expression, then blowing a kiss at the lens. It was the last time he would ever see his sister alive. Karen came out of the house with the first aid kit and a road atlas because in 1999 GPS was something only rich people had. She kissed Drew on the forehead. "Be good. There's lasagna in the fridge." "Love you, Mom." "Love you too, honey." David shook his son's hand, then pulled him into a hug. "Keep your grades up. We're proud of you." "I know, Dad." The 4Runner backed out of the driveway at 9:43 in the morning. Sarah hung out the back window, still filming, yelling something about bringing her back a souvenir. Drew stood there waving until they turned the corner and disappeared. He went inside, ate the lasagna, watched TV, went to bed that night thinking about orientation week. He had no idea his life had just ended. When the Mitchell family didn't show up at their reserved campsite in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park on Sunday evening, the ranger on duty wasn't immediately concerned. People changed plans all the time. Maybe they'd decided to stay an extra day somewhere else. But by Monday morning, when the site was still empty and the reservation unclaimed, the ranger made a call. David Mitchell's brother, Robert, received that call at his home in Charlotte. "Have you heard from Dave? Park Service says they never checked in." Robert tried David's cell phone. It went straight to voicemail. He tried Karen's. Same thing. By Monday afternoon, the Asheville Police Department had opened a missing persons case. By Tuesday, search and rescue teams were combing the highways between Asheville and the Smokies. They found nothing. No abandoned vehicle. No signs of an accident. No witnesses who remembered seeing a silver Toyota 4Runner with a family inside. Drew came home from campus that Wednesday. The house was full of people. His Uncle Robert, his Aunt Linda, neighbors, police officers asking questions he didn't have answers to. "When did you last see them?" "Saturday morning. Around 9:45. "Did they seem upset? Worried about anything?" "No. They were excited. It was just a camping trip." Did your father mention taking any alternate routes? No. He was just going camping. For 2 weeks, helicopters swept the mountains. Volunteers walked grid patterns through the forest. Divers checked the deeper parts of rivers where cars sometimes went off bridges. They found nothing. The case went cold by September. By October, the news stopped covering it. By Thanksgiving, people stopped asking Drew how he was doing, because the answer was always the same: I don't know. In December of 1999, the Mitchell family was officially listed as missing, presumed dead. The house went to Drew. The bank accounts went to Drew. The life insurance policies, after a 7-year waiting period, would go to Drew. But there were no bodies, no crash site, no answers, just silence. Drew Mitchell tried to move forward, but you can't move forward when you don't know where you've been. He dropped out of NC State at the end of his sophomore year. Couldn't focus, couldn't sleep, kept driving the route his parents would have taken over and over, looking for something everyone else had missed. He found nothing. By 2003, he was back in school, forcing himself through an engineering degree because his father would have wanted him to finish. By 2008, he was working for a civil engineering firm in Raleigh. By 2010, he was married to a woman named Jennifer who understood that he had ghosts but loved him anyway. They had 2 kids, Olivia in 2010, Marcus in 2013. Drew didn't talk about his parents much. Didn't talk about Sarah. When his kids asked about grandparents, he'd say they died when he was young, which was technically true. He kept one photo on his desk at work. The 4 of them at Disney World, 1997, everyone sunburned and smiling. He never forgot, but he learned to live with not knowing. Until October 18, 2020. Drew was at his desk when his phone rang. He was working on bridge stress calculations for a highway expansion project, the kind of tedious work that required focus and coffee. It was a Monday morning. Overcast. Unremarkable. The caller ID said, unknown number. He almost didn't answer. This is Drew. Mr. Mitchell? This is Detective Elena Ramirez with the Swain County Sheriff's Department in North Carolina. Do you have a moment to talk? His stomach dropped. Calls from police are never good. Yes. What's this about? Sir, we've recovered a vehicle from Fontana Lake. The registration matches a 1997 Toyota 4Runner, reported missing in August of 1999. Registered owner is listed as David Mitchell. The room tilted. We believe it may be connected to your family's disappearance. We're going to need you to come to North Carolina to provide identification assistance and discuss next steps. Drew's mouth was dry. You found their car? Yes, sir. And Mr. Mitchell, there are remains inside. 3 individuals. I'm very sorry. He doesn't remember what he said next. He remembers the phone slipping from his hand. He remembers his coworker asking if he was okay. He remembers sitting down hard in his chair and staring at the bridge calculations on his screen, numbers that suddenly meant nothing. Jennifer wanted to come with him. He said no. He needed to do this alone. The drive from Raleigh to Fontana Lake took 4.5 hours. He didn't listen to music, didn't listen to podcasts, just drove in silence, hands tight on the wheel, mind racing through 21 years of questions that might finally have answers. Fontana Lake sits on the North Carolina-Tennessee border, a massive reservoir created when the Tennessee Valley Authority built Fontana Dam back in 1942. It's deep, nearly 200 feet in some places. Cold, dark, the kind of water that keeps secrets. In 2020, the southeastern United States was in the middle of a severe drought. Lake levels dropped to historic lows. Shorelines that hadn't seen sunlight in decades were suddenly exposed, and things that had been hidden started to appear. When Drew arrived at the recovery site on October 20th, the scene looked like something from a documentary. News vans, yellow police tape, a barge anchored offshore with dive equipment and a crane, portable lights casting harsh shadows in the fading afternoon sun. Detective Ramirez met him at the barricade. She was in her mid-40s, dark hair pulled back, eyes that had seen too much but still held kindness. Mr. Mitchell, thank you for coming. He nodded, not trusting his voice. I want to prepare you. The vehicle is in the process of being raised. We've already recovered the remains and transported them to the medical examiner's office in Asheville. You won't see them here. How did you find it? Volunteer dive team. Appalachian rescue divers. They do sonar surveys of the lake periodically, mapping the bottom for safety purposes. They got a hit 2 days ago, sent divers down to investigate. The VIN number matched your father's vehicle registration. Drew looked out at the barge. How deep? 187 feet. It's been down there a long time, Mr. Mitchell. 21 years. Yes, sir. He watched as the crane cables tightened. Somewhere below the surface, his family's car was being pulled from the dark. Detective, how did they end up in the lake? This isn't anywhere near where they were going. Ramirez's expression shifted. Something guarded moved behind her eyes. That's what we're trying to determine. The location is unusual. Unusual how? She hesitated, then gestured to a map laid out on the hood of a patrol car. The vehicle was found here. She pointed to a spot on the map. This is Old Highway 288. It was the main road through this area before the dam was built. When they flooded the valley in 1944, the road was submerged. Drew studied the map. So the road still exists underwater? Parts of it, yes. But here's the problem. This section of the lakeshore has been restricted access since the mid-90s. There's a gate about 2 miles back from where the old road enters the water. It's maintained by the Forest Service. The only people with access are maintenance crews and TVA personnel. You're saying they shouldn't have been able to get there. I'm saying it doesn't make sense yet. Your family's camping destination was 60 miles north of here. There's no reason they'd be on this road. Drew felt something cold settle in his chest. Do you think someone brought them here? I don't know, but we're going to find out. The Buncombe County Medical Examiner's office smelled like disinfectant and something underneath it that Drew didn't want to think about. Dr. Susan Park was the chief medical examiner. A woman in her 50s with gray streaks in her black hair and the efficient manner of someone who dealt with death every day but never got used to it. Mr. Mitchell, I want to be direct with you because that's the most respectful thing I can do. We've recovered 3 sets of remains from the vehicle. Based on the location within the car, personal effects, and preliminary examination, we believe they are your parents and your sister. Drew's throat tightened. You believe? We'll need dental records for positive identification. But the physical evidence is consistent with the missing persons report from 1999. Adult male in the driver's seat. Adult female in the front passenger seat. Adolescent female in the rear seat. He closed his eyes, tried to breathe. How did they die? Dr. Park's expression softened. Drowning, most likely. But there are complicating factors. What kind of factors? She pulled out a tablet, brought up photos. Your father had significant trauma to the chest and head consistent with blunt force impact. The steering wheel was compressed, suggesting a high-speed collision. Your mother had defensive injuries to her hands and arms, fractures, contusions. She was trying to protect herself from something. From the crash, possibly, or from whatever caused the crash. She swiped to another image. Your sister had a skull fracture, frontal bone, consistent with striking the back of the front seat during a sudden deceleration. Drew's hands were shaking. They were in an accident. Yes, but the pattern of damage to the vehicle suggests. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Mr. Mitchell, the rear bumper has significant impact damage. Paint transfer analysis shows dark blue metallic paint, consistent with a mid-to-late 90s Ford F-250. The angle of impact suggests a pit maneuver. A what? Pursuit intervention technique. It's what police use to force a fleeing vehicle to stop. You strike the rear quarter panel, it causes the car to spin out. The room felt like it was closing in. You're saying someone hit them. Someone forced them off the road. I'm saying the physical evidence suggests another vehicle was involved. Whether it was intentional, I can't say. But combined with the unusual location and the restricted access, Detective Ramirez is treating this as a potential homicide investigation. Drew sat down heavily in the nearest chair. For 21 years, he'd imagined accidents. Wrong turns. Mechanical failures. Tragic but explainable. This wasn't explainable. Someone had done this to them. 2 days later, Drew was back at the sheriff's office in Bryson City. Detective Ramirez had called him in to go over the evidence recovered from the vehicle. The conference room table was covered with plastic evidence bags, each one labeled and tagged. Drew recognized things that had been part of his life once. His mother's purse, his father's wallet, road maps, a thermos, and Sarah's backpack. "We've processed everything," Ramirez said. "Most of it is severely water damaged, but some items survived better than others." She reached for a larger evidence bag. Inside was something wrapped in plastic, a silver and black object about the size of a paperback book. "Your sister had a video camera. It was in a waterproof camera bag inside her backpack. The bag did its job, the camera is intact. The tape inside is damaged, but a forensic video lab in Asheville thinks they can recover at least some of the footage." Drew stared at the camera. He remembered buying it with his parents for Sarah's birthday. Remembered her excitement, how she'd filmed everything for weeks. "How long before they can restore the tape?" They said 2 weeks. "Maybe less." Ramirez paused. "Mr. Mitchell, if there's footage from that day, it might show us what happened, but it also might show things that are difficult to see. I need to know. I understand. We'll call you as soon as we have something." 2 weeks felt like 2 years. Drew couldn't focus at work, couldn't sleep, kept imagining what might be on that tape, what his sister had seen, what she'd filmed in those last moments. Jennifer tried to help, but there was nothing she could do. "When they call, I'm coming with you," she said. He didn't argue. On November 2nd, his phone rang. "Mr. Mitchell, this is Detective Ramirez. The lab finished with the tape. Can you come to Asheville tomorrow?" "Yes." "What did they find?" "I'd rather show you in person. Please bring your wife if you'd like support. This is going to be difficult." The forensic video lab was in a nondescript office building on the outskirts of Asheville. Drew and Jennifer were led to a small room with a monitor, a table, and 4 chairs. Detective Ramirez was already there, along with a woman in her 30s with auburn hair and tired eyes. "Mr. Mitchell, Mrs. Mitchell, this is Lisa Brennan. She's the forensic video specialist who worked on the tape recovery." Lisa nodded. "I want to set expectations before we start. The tape was submerged for 21 years. We were able to recover approximately 8 minutes of footage, but it's not continuous. There are corrupted sections, audio dropouts, visual artifacts. What you're about to see is the best restoration we could achieve." Drew's mouth was dry. "Okay." The footage spans several hours on August 14th, 1999. The timestamps are visible in most sections. "I've queued it up to the beginning. Are you ready?" He wasn't, but he nodded anyway. Lisa pressed play. The screen flickered, then stabilized. The timestamp in the corner read 2:14 p.m. The image was slightly washed out, colors faded, but clear enough. Sarah's voice came through, bright and energetic. "Day 1 of the Mitchell family road trip. Here's Mom, trying to read a map." The camera panned to Karen in the passenger seat, laughing, holding up a road atlas. Her voice rang out playfully. "Sarah, stop filming me." "Never." Sarah's voice was full of joy. "This is a documentary. I need all the footage." David's voice from off-camera, patient but firm. "Sarah, don't record me while I'm driving." The camera swung forward, catching David's profile. He was smiling, wearing sunglasses, windows down, one hand on the wheel. He looked relaxed, happy. Drew's chest ached. That was his father. Alive, moving, speaking. The footage continued, Sarah narrating their journey, making jokes, panning across mountain scenery. Karen asking David if he was sure they were going the right way. David insisting he knew exactly where they were going. It was so ordinary. So them. Lisa fast-forwarded through a segment. "This next part is from later that afternoon," she said quietly. The timestamp showed 3:47 p.m. The scene shifted. Now they were at a gas station. Sarah was filming from the back seat while her parents walked around outside, stretching their legs. "We're somewhere in the middle of nowhere," Sarah narrated. "Dad says we're making good time, but Mom says we're lost. I'm staying out of it." The camera caught David walking past, making a ridiculous face at the lens. Karen in the background, shaking her head but smiling. Drew heard Jennifer sniff beside him. He reached for her hand. The image dissolved into static. Lisa fast-forwarded through minutes of corrupted footage. Brief flashes of dashboard, trees passing, sunset colors bleeding through digital artifacts. "There's a significant gap here," Lisa explained. "The next clear section picks up around 8 p.m. When the image stabilized again, everything had changed. It was dark outside. Rain hammered against the windshield. The wipers were on full speed, struggling to keep up. The timestamp read 7:52 p.m. Sarah's voice came through, quieter now, the playfulness gone. "It's raining really hard. Dad says we took a wrong turn somewhere." The camera was pointed at the dashboard. The clock confirmed the time. The odometer showed they'd driven 312 miles. Karen's voice cut through, tense and worried. "David, this doesn't look right. Where are we?" David's response was strained, frustrated. "I'm trying to find somewhere to turn around. The GPS isn't working." "We don't have GPS. I meant the map. The map doesn't match what I'm seeing." The camera shifted, pointing toward the back window. Headlights. Close. Very close. Sarah's voice held uncertainty now, maybe the first edge of fear. "Mom, that car is really close to us." Karen turned in her seat, her voice sharp. "Honey, put the camera down." "But I'm recording." "Sarah, now." But Sarah didn't put it down. The camera stayed on, pointed at the back window. The headlights flashed. Once, twice, bright enough to wash out the image. Through the speakers, David's voice came through. "What is he doing?" The vehicle behind them surged closer. Through the rain, the shape of it became visible, large, dark, a truck of some kind. Karen's voice rose. "David, speed up." "I am." The engine noise increased. The camera bounced as the forerunner accelerated. The truck stayed with them. David again, urgent now. "I'm calling 911. The sound of a phone being picked up. Buttons pressed. Then David's voice, frustrated and afraid. "No signal. We're in a dead zone." Sarah's breathing was audible now. Quick, scared. The truck's headlights flashed again. This time they didn't dim. The camera was shaking now, Sarah's hands unsteady. The timestamp clicked forward. 8:03 p.m. Karen's voice, tight with fear. "David, he's not backing off." "I see him." The truck surged forward. Through the rain-streaked rear window, its grille was massive, filling the frame. Sarah's voice broke. "Dad, what's happening?" "Hold on." The truck made contact. A jarring thud that came through the audio like a gunshot. The camera jerked, the image blurring. Sarah screamed. The forerunner swerved violently. Tires screeched. Through the chaos, Drew could see his father's hands fighting the wheel. Karen's voice, desperate. "David!" Another impact. Harder this time. The sound of metal crunching filled the speakers. The camera fell, landing somewhere on the back seat, pointing at an angle toward the front. Through the chaos of motion and sound, Drew could see his father's hands gripping the wheel, his mother bracing against the dashboard. David's voice, desperate and commanding. "Hold on." The sound of glass breaking, metal tearing, and then, silence. A moment of weightlessness. Then the splash. The camera was underwater now, the image distorted by bubbles and movement. But it surfaced, floating in the cabin. The timestamp showed 8:04 p.m. Water was pouring in through the shattered windshield. The interior lights were still on, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. David was slumped over the steering wheel, not moving. Karen was frantically trying to unbuckle her seatbelt, water already up to her waist. Her voice was panicked, desperate. "David! David, wake up!" No response. Sarah's voice, high and terrified. "Mom! Sarah, try your door. Try to get out." The camera shifted as Sarah picked it up. Her face appeared in frame for just a second. soaking wet, blood running from a cut on her forehead, eyes wide with terror. She turned the camera toward her door, tried the handle. It wouldn't budge. It won't open. Karen breathing hard. The water pressure. Try the window. Sarah's hands appeared in frame, pressing the window button. Nothing happened. The electrical system was dead. The water was rising fast, already chest high on Karen. Karen turned in her seat, reaching back. Sarah, baby, listen to me. You need to try to break the window. I don't have anything. The tire iron. In the back. Can you reach it? The camera swung wildly as Sarah turned, trying to climb over the seat. The water was at her shoulders now. She couldn't reach it. Mom, I can't. Karen's face filled the frame, water lapping at her chin. Her voice shook but stayed steady. It's okay. It's okay, honey. Come here. Mom, come here. Sarah moved forward. The camera caught Karen's arms wrapping around her daughter, pulling her close. Karen's voice, breaking but full of love. I love you so much. You're the bravest, smartest, most beautiful girl. I'm so proud of you. Mom, don't. Listen. Drew needs to know we love him. Tell Drew. The water surged over them. The camera went under, the image turning dark and distorted. When it surfaced again, only the top 6 inches of the cabin had air left. Sarah's face appeared one last time, pressed against the ceiling, gasping. She was looking at the camera, looking at the lens, looking at her brother 21 years in the future. Her voice was barely a whisper. Drew, if you see this. She coughed, water in her mouth. Tell Drew I love him. Tell him it wasn't his fault. Tell him. Water surged again. This time it didn't recede. The audio continued for 5 more seconds. Muffled sounds, gurgling, movement, then silence. The image stayed underwater for another 30 seconds before the camera finally died. The screen going black. No one in the lab spoke. Drew was frozen in his chair, tears streaming down his face. Jennifer was crying beside him, hand over her mouth. Detective Ramirez had seen the footage before, but her eyes were wet too. Lisa Brennan stopped the playback. The room was silent except for the hum of electronics and the sound of someone trying not to sob. Finally, Drew found his voice. Came out broken. She tried to tell me goodbye. Ramirez leaned forward. Mr. Mitchell, I'm so sorry you had to see that. But this footage, it's evidence. Proves they were chased. Proves another vehicle forced them off the road. This was not an accident. Drew couldn't look away from the black screen. His baby sister's last words were for him. Tell him it wasn't his fault. But it felt like it was. Drew couldn't go back to Raleigh. Not yet. He checked into a hotel in Asheville, told his boss he needed family leave, and tried to process what he'd seen. Jennifer stayed with him for 3 days, then had to go home to the kids. Call me every day, she said. Don't spiral, he promised. But he was already spiraling. The image of his sister's face, terrified, drowning, trying to leave him a message, was burned into his mind. He saw it when he closed his eyes. Saw it when he tried to sleep. Someone had done this to them. Someone had chased them, rammed them, forced them into that lake. And that someone had gone free for 21 years. On November 10th, Drew drove to his childhood home. He'd inherited it when his parents were declared dead, but he'd never been able to sell it. He'd rented it out for years, but the current tenants had moved out in September. Sat empty now. He had a key. The house smelled like dust and old memories. He walked through rooms that felt like museum exhibits of his past. His old bedroom, unchanged. Sarah's room, posters still on the walls. His parents' room. He found what he was looking for in the attic. Boxes of his father's belongings. Things he'd never had the courage to go through. He opened them now. Work files. Inspection reports. Safety certifications. And a briefcase. His father's work briefcase. Untouched since 1999. Inside, Drew found a stack of papers held together with a binder clip. Construction inspection reports dated July 1999. Project. Route 129 Bridge Expansion. Contractor, Piedmont Construction Services. Inspector, David Mitchell. Drew read through the reports. His father had documented everything: concrete compression tests, rebar placement measurements, stress calculations. And in the margins, in his father's handwriting, were notes. Concrete failing spec: 2,800 psi versus required 4,000 psi. Rebar spacing incorrect: 18 inches measured, 12 inches per spec. Multiple core samples showing aggregate separation. Cannot approve. Critical structural deficiency. The final report was dated August 9, 1999. Stamped in red across the top. Rejected. Does not meet safety standards. Attached to the report was a sticky note in his father's handwriting. Meeting with DOT Inspector Morrison Friday, August 13th. Discuss findings and next steps. August 13th. One day before his family disappeared. Drew's hands were shaking. His father had rejected a construction project. A bridge project. 5 days before he vanished. This wasn't a coincidence. Drew sat on the floor of the attic, surrounded by papers, and pulled out his phone. He searched Route 129 Bridge, 1999 North Carolina. The results loaded slowly. The first link was a news article from the Asheville Citizen-Times, dated September 23, 1999. Bridge project halted following inspector's disappearance. Drew's pulse pounded in his ears as he read. Construction on the Route 129 Bridge Expansion Project has been suspended following the disappearance of State Safety Inspector David Mitchell, who went missing along with his family on August 14th. Mitchell had recently filed a non-compliance report citing structural deficiencies in the contractor's work. The North Carolina Department of Transportation has ordered an independent review of the project. Piedmont Construction Services, the primary contractor, is facing potential penalties and contract termination. His father's disappearance had stopped the project. Drew kept searching. Piedmont Construction Services, the company dissolved in 2003, filing for bankruptcy. The owner, Gerald Hoskins, had died in 2017. But there was a project manager listed in the old corporate filings. Vincent Corelli. Drew searched that name. Nothing recent. No social media. No current address. He tried a People Finder website, entered the name, filtered for North Carolina. 3 results. 2 were too young. 1 was 62 years old. Last known address in Swain County. Swain County, where Fontana Lake was located. Drew screenshot the information and texted it to Detective Ramirez. Found something. Need to talk. Ramirez called him back within an hour. Where did you get this name? My father's work files. Corelli was the project manager on the bridge project my dad rejected. I think this is connected. Mr. Mitchell, I need you to stay away from this person. If he was involved. Detective, my father rejected a multi-million-dollar construction project days before he disappeared. The project got shut down because of it. That's motive. I understand. But this is a police investigation now. Let us handle it. For 21 years, nobody handled it. A pause. Then Ramirez's voice, gentler. You're right. And I'm sorry. But I'm handling it now. I'm going to look into Vincent Corelli. I'm going to pull everything I can find on Piedmont Construction. And I'm going to figure out what happened to your family. But I need you to let me do my job. Drew closed his eyes, forced himself to breathe. Okay. Go back to your hotel. Be with your wife. I'll call you when I know more. He hung up, but he didn't go back to the hotel. Drew stayed at the house, going through more files, looking for anything else that might help. It was almost midnight when his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Hello. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice. Male, rough, like gravel in a barrel. You need to stop. Drew's blood went cold. Who is this? Your father saw something he shouldn't have. He made a choice. It was handled. Leave it buried. You killed them. Accidents happen on mountain roads, Mr. Mitchell. Happens all the time. Rain, darkness, wrong turn. Nobody's fault. Just bad luck. You're lying. Could happen again. To anyone. Could happen to a little girl walking home from school. Olivia, right? She's 10 now? Pretty kid. Looks like her grandmother. Drew's entire body went rigid. If you touch my daughter, then stop digging. The line went dead. Drew stared at his phone, hands shaking with rage and fear. They knew his daughter's name. They knew where he lived. Whoever killed his family was still out there. And they were watching him. The next morning, Drew called Ramirez and told her about the phone call. She immediately sent a patrol car to his house in Raleigh to keep an eye on his family. We're running a trace on the number, she said. Probably a burner, but we'll try. In the meantime, I have news. The paint transfer analysis came back. And dark blue metallic paint, consistent with a 1995 to 2000 Ford F-250. We cross-referenced vehicle registrations in the area from 1999. There were 43 Ford trucks matching that description registered in Swain, Graham, and Jackson counties. That's a lot. It was. But only one was registered to someone connected to Piedmont Construction Services. Drew's breath caught. Who? Vincent Corelli, registered owner of a 1997 Ford F-250, dark blue. Reported sold in 2000, but no title transfer on record. He got rid of the evidence. Maybe, or maybe he still has it. I've got a warrant to search his property. We're executing it tomorrow morning. I want to be there. Absolutely not. This is a police operation. Detective. Mr. Mitchell, if Corelli is involved, he's dangerous. The phone call proves that. I can't have you anywhere near this. Drew wanted to argue, but the thought of his daughter, of someone threatening her. Okay, but you'll call me? As soon as you know something? I promise. Drew waited at his hotel. Couldn't eat. Couldn't focus. Just paced and checked his phone every 30 seconds. At 11:47 a.m., Ramirez called. We searched Corelli's property. He wasn't there. The house looks like it hasn't been occupied in weeks. But we found something in his barn. What? A Ford F-250. Dark blue. VIN number matches the registration from 1999. And Mr. Mitchell, the front bumper has damage consistent with ramming. There's evidence he tried to repair it, Bondo, touch-up paint. But it's definitely impact damage. Drew's heart was pounding. So it's him. He did it. It's strong evidence. But we still need to find him and get his statement. We've issued a bolo, be on the lookout. Every officer in Western North Carolina is looking for Vincent Corelli. Where could he have gone? I don't know. But we'll find him. 2 days later, Drew received a text message from an unknown number. You want answers? Mile marker 47. Old Highway 288 Access Road. Midnight. Come alone. He stared at the message. Old Highway 288. The road that led to where his family's car had been found. This was either a trap or a confession. Maybe both. He should call Ramirez. He knew he should. But something in him, something angry and broken and desperate, wanted to go. Wanted to face whoever had done this. Wanted answers directly, not filtered through police reports and legal proceedings. He texted Jennifer. Have to check something at a work site. Be back late. Then he got in his car and drove. The access road to Old Highway 288 was exactly as isolated as Drew had feared. No streetlights, no houses, just trees pressing close on both sides and a gravel road that seemed to go nowhere. He found mile marker 47 at 11:53 p.m. Killed his headlights. Waited. The November night was cold. Clear. Stars visible through the bare branches overhead. At 12:07, headlights appeared behind him. A black SUV rolled to a stop 20 feet back. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, broad-shouldered, heavy-set, moving with a slight limp. Late 50s or early 60s, gray beard, wearing a canvas jacket. He stopped a few feet from Drew's truck, hands visible at his sides. Drew got out, heart hammering. The man's voice was rough, tired. Didn't think you'd actually come. Drew recognized the voice from the phone call. Who are you? Name's Vincent Corelli, but I think you already know that. Drew's hands clenched into fists. You killed my family. Corelli's face twisted. Pain, guilt, something that might have been shame. It wasn't supposed to go that way. Then how was it supposed to go? Corelli was quiet for a long moment. Then he started talking. Your father was a good man. That's the hell of it. He was just doing his job. Drew's voice was sharp. Start at the beginning. Corelli nodded slowly. Piedmont Construction. I was the project manager on the Route 129 bridge project. It was supposed to be routine. Expand the bridge, reinforce the supports, finish in 6 months. $4.2 million contract. What went wrong? Money. Always money. The owner, Gerald Hoskins, he'd overextended himself. Other projects, bad investments. He needed that bridge contract to stay afloat. So when costs started running over, he made decisions. Bad decisions. Like using substandard materials. Cheaper concrete. Less rebar. Cutting corners where we thought we could get away with it. The plan was to get the work approved, get paid, and move on before anyone noticed. Drew's stomach churned. You were building a bridge that wasn't safe. I told myself it would hold. That the margins of safety were padded anyway. That we weren't cutting that many corners. Corelli's voice cracked. I was wrong. And I knew it. But I had a family too. A mortgage. I couldn't afford to lose that job. My father found out. Your father did his job. He tested the concrete. Checked the measurements. Documented everything. And he rejected the project. Filed a report with the state DOT. August 9th. Yeah. And on August 13th, he met with the DOT inspector, Morrison, to discuss next steps. Morrison was supposed to be neutral. But Morrison was on Hoskins' payroll. Had been for years. He called Hoskins right after the meeting, told him your father was going to recommend shutting down the entire project, maybe even criminal charges. Drew's jaw tightened. So Hoskins told you to stop him. Hoskins called me that night. Said we had to do something. Said if that project got shut down, we'd all lose everything. Our jobs, our houses, our families. He said I needed to talk to your father. Convince him to reconsider. Just talk. But you didn't just talk. Corelli's eyes were wet. I followed him. I knew he was taking his family on a trip that weekend. Saw him leave that Saturday morning. I thought I'd catch him at a gas station or something. Pull him aside. Reason with him man to man. But I lost them for a while. Didn't catch up until evening. They'd taken some back roads, scenic route or something. I finally saw them near Robbinsville. Started following. I flashed my lights, trying to get him to pull over. He wouldn't stop. Just kept driving faster. Because he knew you were following him. Maybe. I don't know. The rain started. Heavy. I stayed on him. I just wanted him to stop. To listen. But he wouldn't. He kept going, kept speeding up. We ended up on that old access road near Fontana. I don't even know how. He must have thought it was the main highway in the dark. Corelli's voice shook. I got frustrated. Angry. I thought if I could just make him stop. So I hit him. Just a tap. Just to get his attention. But the road was wet and he lost control. Went through a guardrail that was half-rotted anyway. And then he stopped. Swallowed hard. Then what? Drew's voice was ice. The car went into the water. I pulled over, ran down to the shore. I could see the taillights sinking. I waded in, tried to get to them. Water was freezing. By the time I got to the car, it was already under. I tried the doors. Couldn't open them. Water pressure. I could see faces in the windows. Your mother. She was looking right at me. Drew felt sick. I tried. I swear to God I tried. But I couldn't get them out. So you left them there. I panicked. Called Hoskins. He came out with his truck. We pushed the car deeper. Made sure it sank all the way. Tried to cover the tire tracks. Hoskins said if we just kept quiet, nobody would ever find them. And he was right. For 21 years, he was right. Drew's voice was shaking. You let me spend 21 years not knowing. You let me think they just disappeared. I know. You destroyed my life. I know. Tears on Corelli's face now. I've thought about them every day. Every single day. Your mother's face. The way she looked at me. I see it when I close my eyes. Good. Corelli nodded. Hoskins is dead. Died 3 years ago. Cancer. Thought he'd take the secret with him. But then the drought happened. Water level dropped. I knew eventually someone would find the car. That's why I was out there with the dive team. I needed to know. Needed to see if they were still there. Drew's eyes narrowed. You found them. You reported finding them. Yeah. Why? Because I'm dying. Corelli pulled back his jacket, showing a medication port attached to his chest. Lung cancer. Stage 4. Got maybe 6 months. And I couldn't go to my grave knowing they were still down there. Unknown. Forgotten. So this is about your conscience. No. This is about your family deserving to be found. To be buried properly. To have someone know what happened to them. Corelli's voice broke. I'm a coward. I've been a coward for 21 years. But I needed to tell someone. I needed you to know it wasn't random. It wasn't meaningless. Your father died because he was a good man who wouldn't compromise. And that's worth something. Drew stared at him. This broken man who had destroyed everything. You're going to tell the police. I know. You're going to prison. I know. Corelli managed something that might have been a smile. Won't be for long anyway. Drew pulled out his phone. And then the shot rang out. Corelli jerked backward. A red bloom spreading across his chest. He hit the ground hard. Drew dove behind his truck as a second shot shattered his rear window. From the treeline, maybe 50 yards away, he heard movement. Saw a flashlight beam sweeping across the road. A voice, older, commanding, called out. Corelli, you stupid son of a bitch. I told you to keep your mouth shut. Drew's pulse hammered in his ears. He risked a glance around the truck. A figure was walking toward them. 70s, gray hair, wearing a hunting jacket, carrying a rifle. The man stopped next to Corelli's body. Looked down. All you had to do was stay quiet. Die quiet. But no. Had to go and confess. Had to grow a conscience. The man turned toward Drew's truck. Mr. Mitchell, I know you're back there. Come on out. Let's talk like civilized people. Drew stayed down. Who are you? Name's Robert Morrison. I was a state DOT inspector. Retired now. Living on a nice pension. Would very much like to keep living on that pension. You were the one on the payroll. Smart boy. Yeah. Hoskins paid me to keep my mouth shut about certain projects. Corelli here did the dirty work. I just filed the paperwork. Clean hands. Or they were until your father decided to be a hero. You killed them. I didn't do anything. Corelli did that. All I did was help clean up the mess. And I've been cleaning up messes for 21 years. Would have kept doing it too, if Corelli hadn't gotten sentimental in his final days. Drew's phone was in his pocket. Could he dial without Morrison seeing? You called me. Threatened my daughter. I was hoping you'd take the hint. But you're stubborn. Like your father. Guess I'll have to clean up one more mess. Morrison raised the rifle, aiming toward the truck. Drew braced himself. And then the sirens started. Blue lights flooded the road. Sheriff's vehicles pouring in from both directions. Morrison froze. Lowered the rifle slowly. Dropped the weapon. Hands in the air. Officers swarmed out, guns drawn. Morrison dropped the rifle. Raised his hands. His face was calm. Almost relieved. Guess that's that, he said quietly. Detective Ramirez walked up to Drew, who was still crouched behind his truck, shaking. Mr. Mitchell, you okay? How did you know I was here? Your wife called us. Said you told her you were checking a work site, but she knew you were lying. She was worried. We put a tracker on your phone. Jennifer, of course. You heard everything? Ramirez held up a recording device. Every word. Corelli's confession. Morrison's threats. All of it. She looked down at Corelli's body. Paramedics were working on him, but Drew could tell it was too late. He was gone. He's the one who found the car, Drew said. He reported it because he was dying anyway. He wanted them found. I know. We had him under surveillance. When he reached out to you, we knew something was about to break. So this was a trap. We had to get Morrison on record. He was the last piece. Without his confession, we couldn't prove the conspiracy. Drew looked at Morrison being led away in handcuffs. The old man walked calmly, head high, like he was going to a business meeting. What happens now? Morrison will be charged with conspiracy to commit murder, accessory after the fact, attempted murder of Corelli, and attempted murder of you. He's going away for the rest of his life. Ramirez put a hand on Drew's shoulder. And your family's case is officially closed. You have answers now. Not the ones you wanted, but answers. Drew nodded. He felt numb. Can I go home? Yeah. We'll need a full statement tomorrow. But for tonight, go home to your family. 5 months passed. Winter gave way to spring, and in April, Drew found himself standing on the shore of Fontana Lake again, this time with his children. The mountains had turned green. Dogwoods bloomed white against the trees. The air smelled like rain and possibility. Drew held his son's hand. Marcus was 7 now, curious and brave in the way kids are when they don't understand how fragile the world is. Olivia stood next to them, 10 years old, quiet and thoughtful. Jennifer stood a few feet back, giving them space. The water was calm today, blue-green and peaceful. You'd never know what it had hidden for 2 decades. They'd buried his parents and Sarah in March. Quiet ceremony. Just family and a few close friends. The kind of funeral you have when the mourning happened years ago. Today was different. Drew had brought the kids here to tell them about their grandparents. About their Aunt Sarah, who they'd never meet. This is where they were found, he said softly. This lake kept them hidden for a long time. But now they're home. Olivia looked up at him. Were they good people? The best. Your grandfather stood up for what was right, even when it was hard. Your grandmother took care of people. And your Aunt Sarah, she loved life. She filmed everything, wanted to remember every moment. Marcus pointed to the 3 small oak trees they'd planted earlier. Are those for them? Yeah. 1 for each of them. So they'll always be here, growing, living. Can I make a video? Olivia held up her phone. Like Aunt Sarah did? Drew's chest tightened. But he smiled. Yeah, I think she'd like that. Olivia started filming. Panning across the lake, the trees, her family. This is the place where my grandparents and my aunt died, she said to the camera, serious and careful. But my dad says they were heroes. And we're here to remember them. She turned the camera to Drew. Dad, do you want to say something? Drew looked at the lens. At his daughter, carrying on Sarah's legacy without even knowing it. For 21 years, I didn't know what happened to you, and it hurt every single day. But Sarah, you left me a message. You told me it wasn't my fault, and I'm trying to believe that. His voice cracked. I have kids now, Olivia and Marcus. They would have loved you, and I'm going to make sure they know who you were, who you all were. The good people who didn't deserve what happened, but who I'll carry with me forever. He wiped his eyes. I miss you, all of you, but I'm okay now. I have answers, and I have peace. Finally, Olivia lowered the camera. They stood there for a while, the 4 of them, listening to the water lap against the shore. Then Marcus tugged his hand. Can we get ice cream? Drew laughed. Yeah, buddy, we can get ice cream. As they walked back to the car, Jennifer took his hand. You okay? Yeah, I am. And for the first time in 21 years, it was true. The camera, Olivia's phone, still recording, sits propped on a rock, forgotten. The image shows the lake, the trees swaying gently, the mountains in the distance. And for a moment, if you listen carefully, you can almost hear it. A girl's voice, young, happy, full of life. This is Sarah Mitchell, reporting for the Mitchell Family Documentary. Thanks for watching. Then silence. The kind that isn't empty anymore, just peaceful. In December of 2021, Robert Morrison was sentenced to life in prison without parole for conspiracy to commit murder, accessory after the fact, and attempted murder. The Route 129 bridge was demolished and rebuilt to proper specifications in 2022. The North Carolina Department of Transportation conducted a full audit of construction projects from 1995 to 2005, finding evidence of fraud in 17 additional cases. Vincent Corelli died of lung cancer 3 weeks after the confrontation at mile marker 47. His confession led to the resolution of 4 other cold cases involving Piedmont construction. Drew Mitchell continues to work as a civil engineer in Raleigh. He visits Fontana Lake twice a year with his children. Sarah Mitchell's Handycam footage has been preserved by the North Carolina State Archives as evidence and historical record. Drew has never watched it again, but he keeps a photo from that footage on his desk. His sister, smiling at the camera, full of life and hope, a reminder that some voices, once silenced, can still speak, and some truths, no matter how deep they're buried, eventually rise. Thanks for watching until the end. It really means a lot. If this story caught your attention, don't forget to like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what stood out to you most. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Seek Stories and hit the bell so you never miss the next mystery. See you soon.